Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We'll continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawal Quran, whether the Jews of the Quran spares. That's the reading from Surah Al-Rahman. And slowly we are, inshallah, progressing. We can't exhaust, seems, all the meanings that continue to unfold. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. In the last session, we covered verses 10 to 16, and he said at the end of the session that we need to revisit the last verses, and maybe we still continue to connect the dots going back to the very beginning of the surah and pave our way to these verses inshallah. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان. The most compassionate, Ar-Rahman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God taught the Qur'an, and the Qur'an was revealed in its entirety to the lower heaven. So when you recite شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن, you would know that this is the revelation of the Qur'an to lower heaven, and thereafter munajjaman, as it was revealed over 23 years to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first in Mecca, and what we describe as the Meccan period, 13 years, and then 10 years in Medina. And usually when on the way to Mecca, that was in the vicinity of Mecca, will be considered Meccan, and that which was revealed in Medina or on the way to Medina will be considered Medinian. So that's the basic, with other details. Some surahs were Meccan, some verses are Meccan, but the idea here is that the human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being, and the Quran, which really is about the life of the human being. That's the path, that's the straight path. And the Quran, relatively speaking, a couple of hundred verses are about jurisprudence, and the rest we talk about faith, creed, belief, morality, ethics, stories of the of previous past peoples for the moral lesson. But the Quran is there for the human being. Speaking about human beings, though the jinn are also included in this, even in this particular surah, they are mentioned directly. The human beings and the jinn, both of them are addressed. So the creation of the human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught them, taught humanity to speak, to communicate, to express, and this requires the what we know today, the capacity in the brain, the neurons, but also, subhanallah, our sound box, the vocal cords, and so the infrastructure for languages is there, and they are definitely 100% related to each other. And I've said this in the past, in as much as the 4 types of blood, they go back to one type. Same thing about the languages. The languages in the Quran, the tongues, al-sun, are considered positive signs pointing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unlike in the story of Babylon, when people built the tower, God dispersed them, and one way of dispersing them was to create these languages. Not in the Quran. In the Quran, these are both languages and the colors of people, what we call today ethnicities. They are positive signs. They are not to be tolerated only as the the Western paradigm suggests. The Quran suggests that we celebrate these signs as they point to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all cultures, all languages are to be appreciated, and all ethnicities to be celebrated. Not only Black life matters, every human being matters. Point. The innocent should be. And it's a sad state of humanity. It's a long story of our stories of humanity, especially as the globe is less safe, and not all polities take care of their own people, especially those who are vulnerable. And one reason will be there is no faith, there is no creed, there is no cornerstone, nothing to lean on. Without faith, humanity is at a loss, and it's not enough that people will believe and you leave it to the politicians to create laws that violate the Ten Commandments, that violate human nature, that violate ethics and morality. That cannot be and should not be the case at any rate. So once a human being has learned the language, has the ability, the capacity, then the human being would also realize that the sun and the moon have been created with precision. And as such, you can decipher the concept of time. The Quran specifically mentions the use of the different phases of the moon. يسألونك على أهلة قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج. The people ask you about the crescents, the different phases of the moon. They are for timing, and that's exactly what we do at the beginning, at the end of every lunar month, but especially during Ramadan. The stars and the trees bow down in submission. They prostrate literally. Yes, Judan. Everything in the universe praises the name of God. In the context of Sayyidina Dawud alayhi salam, Prophet David, King David, he is Prophet David. In the Quran, he is both. يا جبال أوبي معه والطير. So there is a command that the mountains would echo, or basically they will repeat, and along with the birds, they would partake in his hymn, when he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he prays. But it means that this universe, animate and inanimate, beginning with the inanimate, the najm, and the animate, on you have absolutely matter with no life, then you have plants, and then you have the living organisms. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised the heavens and He established the balance. We said that the balance is both physical, and then the balance is about the spiritual. In the physical, like in trade, literally before the electronic, it's the same concept, but before the electronic balances, you would see that there's a weights and measures. There are weights, say 1 kilogram, and then you just put on the other side whether it's fruits or vegetables or meat or grain or whatever. Do not defraud the scales. And spiritually, we said how we are both matter. There's a body and there's a spirit, and we need to tend to both. The body is a trust, so much so that you cannot really sell the parts of your body, but you can donate that which is not vital, and that which is. And the scholars have details about this. If it's something that will cause deformity, you cannot donate. For example, an eye, or parts of an eye, for example, because that would lead to deformity when you are living. That's while you are still living. You can donate other parts of the body that are not linked to procreation, part of a liver, for example, one kidney, etc. But you cannot donate a sperm, you cannot donate an ovum, because Islam, one of the major aims of the Sharia is to, of course, to protect life, to protect religion, but one of the aims is to protect progeny. Progeny should take place, procreation should take place only within the context of a husband and wife, to be specific, a male and a female. There is no room for same-sex marriage. So you take care of the body. It's a trust. You, as much as possible, you eat healthy, you lead a healthy life, because it's a trust. But because it is there to serve you, the body is there to serve you. You have not been created to eat, but you need to eat. You have not been created to. So there are so many things that one Imam Ghazali mentions at the beginning of Ihya Ulumuddin, the revival of Islamic sciences, in the book of knowledge. Ultimately, he compares the human being with animals that are stronger, faster, larger, whatever. Uh, so there are many animals that we cannot compete with, but there's one thing where that distinguishes us, and it is, as I said, you have not been created except to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْأَرْضَ وَضَعَهَا لِلْأَنَامِ. He laid out the earth for all beings, and one can find elsewhere in the Quran, from it منها خلقناكم وفيها نعيدكم. It is from earth that you have been created, and it's in earth that you will be, that you to earth you will return. It's the body, for the spirit is not made from earth. This surah will speak about the human being created from clay, inshallah, and within a few verses we'll mention that. But this is home, and so this is home for humanity. And with them, unfortunately, people are silly enough to create more and more states. These states do not solve problems, especially if they are established unjustly, or they are led by dictators or ignorant leaders. And we know that there is a big disparity between the north and the south of this globe. About 80%, roughly 80%, live in the south, subsisting on 20% of the resources, and 20% live in the north, enjoying 80% of the resources, more or less. It's a system. Former colonies are still paying former colonizers, like African countries paying France. That's a shame. There is need for restitution, there is need for apology in the first place. So earth is home, and we should not corrupt it. Unfortunately, we talk and we don't walk the talk. One of the polluters is our own garments. If only people could understand how fabrics are made. But most of the industries that pollute come from industrial countries and not from the impoverished nations. Earth is home and needs to be protected. Temperature is rising, oceans are rising, and many cities on the sea shores are going to see the water rises. فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام. In it are fruits, palm trees, and date stalks. والحب العصف والريحان, and grain with husks, and aromatic plants. Said ريحان could be basil, but also the aromatic plants. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. We said that it's this question. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny, meaning the humans and the Jews? And we said in the previous session that this question was repeated 31 times in this surah. In fact, every single day, every single moment, wherever you look, inside yourself, metaphorically, right next to where you are, or simply you allow yourself to look into the sky. Everything is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we should celebrate. A sign, ayah. We use both ayah and ayat for the verses of the Quran, and ayat for the signs in the universe. Both are from Allah. There should be no contradiction between one and the other in terms of our understanding. If there is a contradiction, then at least one of the understandings is like our understanding of the verse or our understanding of the universe. It could be a physical. If it becomes a law, that's one thing. If it's a theory, that's another. But there should be no contradiction, because both of them are revealed by Allah. He created humankind from sounding clay like pottery. And created jinn from a smokeless flame of fire. Maybe it's a reference, as I said in the previous session, that this is the outer blue light, flame, if you will, the non-luminous part. That's the most heated part of the flame. But again, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? رَبُّ الْمَشْرِقَيْنِ وَرَبُّ الْمَغْرِبَيْنِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is Lord of the two easts and the two wests. And people differ about how they understand the two easts and two wests. For definitely every day it's a different angle, if you will. Every day it's a different angle. This is why we have ultimately the different seasons. The earth tilts, if you will. So the point of sunrise and sunset, they differ. For many years, I think it did cross my mind that since the one of the end of time scenarios, the signs, one of the signs at the end of time is that the sun will rise from the west, what we considered the west, and the will set in the east, sunset in the east, sunrise in the west. Maybe that's the reference. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just simply an idea that I wanted to share with you. The east, where the sun rises, of course, is the our globe that rotates, becomes where the sun sets. And if just to bring the idea closer to home, as we say, think of a yo-yo. I mentioned this before many sessions. The yo-yo, if you roll it, it will go to a certain point and then it will return to where it started, the movement, with the opposite direction. So the yo-yo rolls in one direction, and when it returns, it rolls in the opposite direction. That will bring the idea home, closer to home, inshallah. رب العالمين. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان? Then which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Inshallah, in the next session, we'll start with verse 19 directly. It's a sub theme, if you will, because we are still talking about different signs in the universe. This time, it's about the two bodies of water that merge, and nevertheless, there's a barrier they never cross. We'll explain all this, inshallah, in the next session. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.